So it's rare to actually be able to put the Games with Gold announcement directly against the PlayStation Plus announcement in one video, because typically the two companies like to stagger their launches. But for whatever reason, November 2019 is going to be a little different, and both Games with Gold and PlayStation Plus announced their games at the same time on the same day. So we're going to do one video wrapping everything together. I will start off by saying that I think this is a pretty weak month for Xbox and an okay month for PlayStation. And I think it is very clear that Xbox is continuing to drive people towards Game Pass because this month's offerings are not that great. First and foremost, we have Sherlock Holmes, The Devil's Daughter, which sits at 71 Metacritic score, which is okay. I have played a little bit of this game in the past. I think they had a free weekend on Steam. It's basically your traditional action-adventure game where you are playing as Sherlock Holmes trying to solve this mystery. It's a somewhat linear experience where you kind of work through puzzles and, try to figure out what is going on. It's okay. It's not the best, but unfortunately for this month, this is really the kind of flagship title. Everything else I'm about to show you is definitely lower tier. Final Station sits at an 80, and you're probably thinking, well, 80 is a pretty good Metacritic score, and I tend to agree. It's definitely getting up there. Anything I think 80 and above is definitely something to consider. The Final Station was a game that really didn't resonate with me well, though. I played it on the Switch. It is a 2D pixel art type adventure game. I think the appeal for this game is that it works well on Switch because you're going to play in bite-sized chunks and you're going to quickly move on. You're not going to sit there and spend 3 or 4 hours in some kind of gaming marathon session playing through the Final Station. I think that's why the Metacritic score is sitting at where it is sitting. I think it's a bit lower on some of the other platforms, but it's okay. I just don't think you're going to be sitting in front of your Xbox playing this for hours. Then we get into some really, really old games. This is a PlayStation 2 way back in the day. We're talking OG Xbox at this point. And I want to quote my true love, Brent Cassina, who writes, "Jedi Starfighter was cool 15 years ago." Well, he's a little off. It's actually 17 years ago. But the point remains, and it's a valid one. Who the hell cares about a 17-year-old Star Wars game? This is when you know we have reached the bottom of the barrel as we start talking about old games. This will not look well. This will not play well by any stretch of the imagination. I don't care if Xbox has backward compatibility or not. I just think this is a game that doesn't necessarily have a ton of nostalgia to it. There are definitely far better Star Wars games than this, but it sits at an 81. Keep in mind that 81 was based on those scores way back in the day. I think today, by today's standards, you would agree that this game is going to rank significantly lower. Lastly, we have Joyride Turbo, another backward compatibility game. This one from the Xbox 360, which sits at a very mediocre 67. This comes to you from the guys of Connect Joyride. If you recall, Connect had a bunch of different ideas. None of them worked. So they took a game that was designed for the Kinect where you kind of steer like this. They got rid of that and they said, we're going to turn this into a controller-based game and we're going to call it Joyride Turbo. This is a very standard run-of-the-mill arcade racer. Not a lot of frills here. Not really a lot of fun. Clearly the score reflects that. Not a good month. Really not a good month for Xbox. Now, over on PlayStation, a little better. I think Neo definitely has some staying power to it. Both of these games are not, like, the greatest in terms of, like, they're new or anything. You're not going to see that like you see with Game Pass, where they're releasing games early. These are games that have been around for a while. Neo's been around for about 2.5 years now, close on 3, actually. I really enjoyed the game. I did beat it in its entirety. It was incredibly frustrating. It is basically Dark Souls in feudal Japan. You're fighting against this, they call it the Sengoku period. I'm probably pronouncing that incorrectly, but think of like demons and beasts and that sort of thing. But you're playing as this guy named William, who's a samurai, Tons of different weapons, fighting styles, gear. Really enjoyed this game. Sits at an 88, which I think is almost God tier. This was a PlayStation exclusive, so it's cool that they are in the shadow of PlayStation 5 announcement, making sure that everybody's gone through and played the classics. I think this could be why this is an okay month for PlayStation. Unfortunately, you have to look over the aisle to see Outlast 2 sitting at a very low 68 on the Metacritic, which was really frustrating because the original Outlast was a phenomenal game. I have very fond memories of that game. It was the last game I reviewed for Film Games Etc., an old blog I used to write for before I decided to go solo and make my YouTube channel. Outlast had a really good fan base. It was very fun, very original, unique. And then Outlast 2 came out and it just didn't work really on any front. And the score shows. But if you want to dabble in it, I don't know. I don't think this is absolutely something you need. But overall, I think between Xbox and PlayStation, I give the nod to PlayStation this month because I think Nioh is definitely a game that every PlayStation owner should play. I can't really say the same for Xbox. Yes, you are getting 4 games. Yes, it's $89 in value. Yes, it's going to give you gamer score, but really 3 of those games are largely forgotten, and I don't think Sherlock Holmes definitely has any comparison in terms of how great Nioh's reach was and how great Nioh actually performed. So with that, I'd like to close out this video. Leave a comment below. Let me know what you think about this month. Let me know if you agree that it's time that this stuff ends. These games are just consistently getting worse and worse. You find little fragments of greatness here and there, but for the most part, not so great. Thank you guys so much for watching. Take care of yourselves, and until next time, I will see you guys on the other side.